such a joy to be here and to prepare this talk and to be with all of you. And I think you were looking at my notes because you gave my talk. As always happens, the synchronicity is amazing. Everything you did just prepared the stage for this. It's wonderful. So the point is, I mean, it's been said all over. Doug said it also. The thing about kindness that I really love is that it is a choice that we can always make, no matter what. We can't always feel loving towards someone, but we can be kind, however we feel. We can't always not feel irritated or angry, but we can be kind. We don't always have the power to solve a problem for someone, but we can be kind. We don't agree on politics or taste or whatever, but we can be kind. We don't always have the financial or physical wherewithal to help someone, but we can be kind. We can't always give someone what they want, but we can turn them down with kindness. There's a wonderful statement that really struck me. It comes from, I heard it in Al-Anon, and it says, say what you mean what you say, don't say it mean. And so there is a way to just say, no, I can't do that, or I am angry about that, or I'm upset, and do it kindly. So last spring, or actually it was a little before that, I had a new book coming out on how they met and how people met. And it changed publishers, and it was delayed for a year. So the publisher said, do you got anything else? Any other idea for writing a book? And so I suddenly thought I would take that song, We Can Be Kind, and each line would be a chapter. So it would be so many things we can't control. Nobody really wants to fight, whatever. And I wrote a series of essays on that topic. And then I have a section, how to practice that particular kind of kindness. And then most importantly, I found how to be kind to ourselves, which is the core of the talk. And that book is here today. I have it afterwards. And while I was writing that book, I was also writing another book, which just came out, that I don't have here, but you can get it online. I've been asked for a long time to write a new thought exchange book that was simpler, that just gave the exercises. So I wrote a book in which, in order, I have all the thought exchange exercises that I've come up with through my teaching, from my other books, etc., so that one can take oneself through the whole process of thought exchange. And actually, where thought exchange always leads to just feel your sensations, this one goes past it and leads to just give over to higher power. It goes to the end of that line. And so, in organizing these exercises in an order in which people could understand them, I realized that the first thing I had to convey was the exercises where we understand that the only place that we live life is in our interior experience in the form of thoughts and sensations. There is nothing else happening, really. There may be something else happening, but it's not happening in a way that I can experience it. I like to say, as I look at you, I cannot prove that you are here. I do know that I experience you. If I were dreaming, I'd experience you also. But I cannot prove you are here. I only know I experience you. I once said that to Kathy Lee Gifford. She said, believe me, I'm here. But truly, everything happens inside ourselves in the form of sensations and thoughts we make up about them. So objectively, nothing is happening out there. That is why every one of us has a completely different experience of every person. One of my favorite things Shawn says, and I'm not going to quote him exactly, Shawn, when you look at this tape, I know I'm not quoting you exactly. He says, don't you hate it when people who you don't like have friends? Yeah. You know, how could that person possibly be? Because we see them. I don't even know if you see the same colors as I do. I don't know, because when we are looking at the world, the only thing we're seeing is ourselves, is our thoughts and our sensations, period. And so people say to me sometimes, isn't it, upsetting that there's no one else out there? And I go, no, you're not out there. You're in here. Every one of you is in here. Like when somebody dies and you say, oh, but they're still with me. The only way you're ever with me is in here. I see something out there, but half the time you're not in front of me. You're still here. I talk to you. I can talk to you. The way in which everyone is here and is eternally here is inside of me. So it all happens. And so the book, the new book, aptly enough, is called It's All Inside. With a big all. And so kindness, although it looks like I'm being kind to you, kindness is not about someone else. Kindness is an interior experience inside of you. Kindness is a way of being in the world, which is you. Hence the title of the book is We Can Be Kind. The title is not We Can Do Kind, because being kind is the only thing we can be. It's called We Can Be Kind, healing our world one kindness at a time. Our world only exists in here, in thoughts and sensations. It's the only place my world exists. It's not in here and out there. You are all in here. So it's the only place that I can find serenity, the only place I can find peace. Nothing out here can do that. So in knowing that kindness is a way of being and happens only inside of me, one of the great advantages is that what we're doing is creating an experience for ourselves, and there is no sacrifice in being kind. It's not like, oh God, now I got to do this for this person, and I've got to give up this, and I'm, what about me? And so it's all me. Every time I'm kind, I have an internal experience of kindness, and it is I who get the payoff. So my favorite story about that, and it's in the book, it is years ago on Christmas, since the holidays are coming up, I thought this would be a good tip. The kids write letters to Santa. They write to Santa, they write what they want, and they drop it in the mailbox. And all those letters end up at the post office. And you can go and pick one up and be Santa for that kid. They leave an address, they leave what they want. So one year I went to the post office, and I got this letter. It was right after 9/11. And this 9-year-old third grader wrote, "Dear Santa, I even feel bad asking you for this because I'm so lucky I have 2 parents, and I feel so bad for the children who lost parents in the World Trade Center and for people who don't have parents, but my mommy and daddy are not working, and if you could, I would like chapter books." Apparently in 3rd grade, chapter books are a very big thing, that suddenly you have chapters, So chapter books, a bear, and some things for my computer. So I went to Barnes & Noble, and they told me what chapter books were, and I bought a few chapter books. And I went to Toys R Us, and I bought a bear bigger than me. I bought the biggest bear. And then I went to Kmart, and I bought a $400 gift certificate. And I took this red paper, and I wrote Santa Claus, North Pole Stationery, and I said, I got your letter, and I loved your thoughts, and I, wanted to make sure you got everything you want, so I hope you like the bear, and here are your chapter books, and here's a gift certificate so you and your mommy and daddy can go to the store and get exactly what you need. Love, Santa. Remember, dreams can come true. And I sent it off. And I went to the place that wraps it, and they give you half price if you're doing that, these mailbox things, if it's for that. And when I sent it off, I felt so wonderful, and I thought, what is this? And I thought, I don't feel wonderful because I was so magnanimous. I feel wonderful because I live in a world where my dreams could be made come true by someone I've never met or never heard from me. They could come out of the blue, from places I never heard of. How do I know that? Because I just created that world. I just did that. And so the kindness was not, and look at me, it was, look at the experience of the world, look at what I participated in to give myself the experience of kindness. I will never meet this child. I will never know how they reacted, but I can imagine opening a bear bigger than me would have been quite interesting. But, so understanding that it's all inside helps us remember that we all live in one world. There is not you and me. There is you in me. There is not God and me. There is God in me. There is not the church and me. There is I am the church. And I want to read this chapter. Where's the book here? Because one of the, the bridge of this song starts with, and it's not enough to talk about it. And this is a story in the book that is about our church. And so a number of you may remember it, some who are newer may not. But it's called, from the John F. Kennedy quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." A number of years ago, when our Unity Church in Connecticut seemed to be in trouble, our minister, my partner Shawn, decided to apply John F. Kennedy's famous inaugural words to the congregation. Our church had hit a patch where we seemed to be in financial trouble. Reverend Shawn was aware that when a church or any organization, for that matter, hits financial difficulty, it is often because the members of the community have failed to recognize their connectedness and their power. When this happens in a church, it often shows up as a lack of funds, as the congregation not increasing, because when new people come, they don't feel welcomed, or as people falling away from the congregation because in thinking of the church as a place that's supposed to do something for them, they are feeling disappointed. To work on the issues the church was having, Reverend Shawn called a town meeting at which the congregation was asked to voice ideas as to how the church could expand, be more fiscally independent, and most of all function as a community in which the congregation took charge of its own welfare. There were 4 parts of this meeting. In the first part, people were asked to take an inventory of what they liked in the church. So that everyone would get a chance to speak, they each had 2 minutes to list everything the church already had that they liked. When a store takes inventory, it doesn't catalog what it doesn't have. It catalogs what it does have. So we had a whole blackboard listing all the things that people like about this church. In the second part, people were asked to voice any complaints they had about the church. But there was a very specific way in which they had to do this. Rather than complaining, they were asked to list what they would like to see in the church that they didn't see there now. In this way, the comments were made in a positive way that emphasized infinite possibility as opposed to lack. Again, Shawn wrote down the entire list of things the congregation said on the board. In the third part, people were asked for suggestions as to how the community might manifest the things the congregation said they would like to see. People had a tremendous amount of creative and interesting suggestions as to committees that could be formed, fundraisers that could occur, benefit concerts that could be put on, consciousness raising, workshops, etc. Shawn wrote them all down on the blackboard and then turned to the congregation and said, "Okay, how are we going to do this?" One member of the congregation gave a diatribe on how a certain committee should be formed and how it should be run. When Reverend Shawn asked her if she was willing to take responsibility for this, she said, "No, I don't have the time." Reverend Shawn's succinct answer was, "If you don't have the time to either do it yourself or see to it that the right people are put together to get it done, we're not interested in your bringing it up." Needless to say, that comment at the church has not been back. But what began to happen as a result of this exchange was that the consciousness of the congregation began to shift from one of, "This is my church, a church is the people," from one of, "This church has to do things for me," to, "This is my church, and it's not the building, it's not the minister, but a group of people who form it." The rule became that if you wanted to see something done and brought it up, it was your responsibility to either get it done or spearhead getting it done by taking responsibility for asking people who could get it done to do it, or form a committee to do it. Gradually, people who were not interested in taking this kind of responsibility fell away. And a flock of new people came in, showed up to join the core group that was willing to not only have the idea, but to make it happen. And today, here we are. A thriving, successful, financially viable community of people who feel very connected to each other and are very confident in their ability together to make things happen. Look at how we raised the money for the building fund. Just boom! I mean, there was a tremendous friendship, passion, and yes, kindness among the congregation, as they have learned that it's not enough to talk about it. We know it's not enough to talk about it. We do it ourselves, or we see to it that with our other group of kind people, we get it done. So, the book is filled with all sorts of stories about how we can exercise kindness. One of the important ones to me is accept life on its own terms, which brings me around to the definition of love, which has come up at the beginning of the service. Love, to me, is allowing things to be exactly as they are. I look at you, I love you, I see you just as you are. And when we understand that life only goes on inside of us, there's no danger to thoughts and sensations. They don't do anything, they're just here. So we can allow things to be the way they are. And if God is love, as we say it, we let ourselves experience God by allowing everything to be the way it is. And then God, the infinite force and source, can work in ways that we don't understand how to work. And we start using the world as a mirror to heal, because we look at all these things. I start viewing life lately as every second something is coming up to show me where my thinking is. And if I'm enjoying what it is, I know my thinking is where I want it to be. If not, it's just saying, you got a little smudge on your nose. Wipe it off. Your collar's crooked. Okay. But if I go, my collar's crooked, I hate it. I hate that you say that. What are you telling me? We're screaming at the mirror. And the mirror is just saying, I'm just a mirror. And so when we realize the opening of the song, so many things we can't control. We have so little control of the world at large, of our economy, of other countries, of politics, of unforeseen illnesses and accidents. In 12-step programs, we learn we absolutely cannot control another person's addiction. We don't control the weather. We don't control the rising and setting of the sun or natural disasters. We don't even control so many processes that go on in our bodies. One of my favorite things to do is to tell someone, here, eat this, and you decide how much amino acid you're going to secrete in order to digest it. Well, thank God, literally, thank God, I don't have to make such decisions. I don't have to. And sometimes I say to a person, can you raise your heart rate? And they go, no, and I go, I can. My heart rate just went up because I moved, because when I decide to move, Spirit, that invisible force, knows how to raise my heart rate. I don't. So when people say, I finally decided to give up control, I always say, you had it? Because we don't. And when we let go of controlling things that we can't control, it seems like a giving up, a hopeless, but we're giving up. We're giving it. If we understand that all that the world is doing is offering us the experiences we need to experience to heal, we have those experiences. I realized recently I spent my whole life trying to resist my experience. I've spent my whole life, if I have to talk today, oh my God, I'm not feeling well, my body is this, I'm going to have a hard time, I'm going to pass out. And I suddenly went, you have felt like this for 67 years. And you've never passed out. And even if you do pass out, and so I kindly suddenly went, it's funny, we have a river in our backyard, and in the winter I look at the ducks in the river, and I think, God, it's 0 degrees out there sitting in this freezing water, they must be freezing. And then people say, no, they're not cold because they have the, eider down. And I suddenly thought, maybe they are cold, but they're just cold. And that's the experience of being a duck. And so the other day, I had to walk 4 blocks on that really cold day, and I wasn't dressed properly, and we were at the car dealer, and I had to go to the bank, and Shawn said, I'm not going, it's too cold. And so I said, well, I have to go. And I walked out, and I was freezing. And I noticed that I was kind of going, oh my God, I hope I get there, and it's so cold. And suddenly I said, wait a minute. How about if you just experience what it feels like to be cold? And for about 10 seconds I felt some stuff, and then I don't remember caring. I just was there. It was my resistance to the cold. And so it's a kindness to ourselves. We have this God pushing in at us with all the infinite answers. It's a kindness to ourselves to accept circumstances as they are, to experience them. So there are all sorts of different examples that in researching this that I loved. There's one story called Silent Night, which some of you may know, which is in World War I. The Germans were on this side in the trenches, and the Allies were on this side, and it was Christmas, and all of a sudden someone held up a candle, and then someone held up from our side, and then there was a sign saying, if you don't fight, we won't. And the soldiers met in the middle of the field, and they celebrated Christmas, and they exchanged gifts, and they gave each other supplies, and they buried the dead who they couldn't bury in the field, and they just that nobody really wants to fight. Nobody really wants to go to war. It's the countries and stuff. The people don't. Another thing I love is my friend Mitchell Savage. He does something called kamikaze drive-by prayer. He wakes up in the morning and he says, I'm going to really send a ton of prayer towards somebody today who doesn't know I'm sending it. And then calls them up at the end of the day and says, how's your day? And invariably, all sorts of amazing things have happened. So you just pray for someone out of the blue. And how that makes you feel, again, can you see how all these things are about our power? Years ago, Shawn, I don't know if you know this about Shawn, but he can be prickly at times. Yes, and he used to be much more so. And he was very startled by things, and he was very wanting things to be correct. And we were having a dinner party, and right before it, I opened the refrigerator, and a big casserole of vegetables fell out and smashed on the floor. And over time, I had learned I was not so worried about the thing happening as to what Shawn's reaction would be. And I kind of went, and Shawn went, oh, these things happen, don't worry about it. And then he went, who said that? And he said, you go off and take a shower, honey, and I'll clean it up. What Shawn did was, Shawn was living in a constant tense state. That's what that was. And Shawn, by that kindness, put himself in a place where something that would usually drive him crazy didn't. And he got to be more comfortable. I loved that he did that, but he got to be more comfortable. Another thing is there's stuff in there about not fixing people. If we remember that everything that's appearing in front of us is for us to see what we're thinking, then why would you take that away from someone? Years ago, I was replacing the conductor in the Broadway show Song and Dance, and it's a lot of music, and I had 3 weeks to learn it, and I was really scared. And all of a sudden, I developed this stuffed ear. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor gave me all sorts of steroids and stuff, and he blasted open the stuffed ear, and I had the side effects of the stuffed ear, of the steroids, which were dry mouth, sleeplessness, and anxiety. Oh, boy. Which is what those side effects of that. So I suppose the side effects, but I suddenly realized, wait a minute. I'm nervous. I created this symptom to hold it, and then I blasted away my symptom, so now I'm nervous again. I said, get off the medication, have a stuffed ear, and opening night you won't have a stuffed ear. And I didn't. So there was something there that was helping me that I regarded as get rid of that, and when you get rid of it, something else has to come to help you, because we must see what's going on inside ourselves. I have an energy worker who calls this fear finding a home. Mm-hmm. And so a few weeks ago, I was very worried about a critic, and I came home and I said to Shawn, I'm so worried because this happens to me, we're doing so well, and all of a sudden it gets taken away. And Shawn gave me the usual, David, you don't know that that's going to happen, and you're creating that, and you don't have to. And I said, look, I've had a lifetime of this. There's no way that thought's not going to come up. And I woke up the next morning and looked at him and said, all right, this is the thing. Stop me if I tell a story about this, if I make up something about that. But understand that if I don't have my story about how this person is doing this, that person, then what I'm in touch with is that there is this pain in me, this fear in me, that's just there. It's just there. So just look at me and know that. Don't fix it. I don't have to get rid of it. I can function. I can do everything. But I have something in me that just is there and will always be there. And if I know that and don't try and get rid of it, I can do anything. And it was a real breakthrough to know that that is inside me. I don't need to have failures to see it if I will just see it. Notice how we're drawn to other people's problems. This is one of my favorite things. My grandmother, my mother, and I had the same housekeeper at one point. And Ida came over one day, and I said, how's Nana doing? And she said, oh, she was depressed, and then your mother got sick, and whoo, she perked right up. And my grandmother had a pain in her, but she had to be working on someone else. She once said to my brother, get married, when are you going to get married? And he said, your marriage is so happy. She said, never mind, get married first, then we'll discuss it. And so this looking outward at other people are not in trouble. They're seeing their own stuff. It's kind to look at them, see them, be with them, but not take it away or try and change it. They'll just have to put something else there because these things are all for healing. Now, I just wanted to say one little thing. You know, we don't discuss politics here, but I was thinking about this, and I realized if we understand this, whether we are for or against the president, whether we are upset about it or we're upset that people are attacking us for our views, it's not about the president. It is about we're looking out and seeing something that is an expression of our pain, our anger, our feelings, and it's about us inside. And when we fight each other, when we argue, when we're screaming at the mirror. So, you know, as Doug said, when you just go, okay, then we have to be with ourselves, they have to be with their self, and things change when they change inside of us. So when we're attacking each other, when we're fighting, nothing happens because we're working in the wrong arena. We're looking in a mirror, and I am looking at David saying, I do not like that blue shirt. And I can call that blue shirt names, and I can attack that blue shirt, and I can say, that blue shirt is ruining the way I look. The mirror can't do anything because it can only reflect me. So it is kind to be inside ourselves, to look inward when we see something outward. And, you know, one of the lines of the song says, deep down inside, we all need the same thing. So let's sit with ourselves and take on a kinder thought. And that will be the world we live in. Now, the last chapter of the book is called Maybe We'll Find True Peace of Mind If We Always Remember We Can Be Kind. And I made a video in conjunction with the book, and it's photographs about all sorts of circumstances and ways we can be kind, and it's Nancy Lamott singing We Can Be Kind. And to end the talk, I wanted to show it to you. So, well, as we're waiting,
so many things we can't control, so many hurts that happen every day, so many heartaches that pierce the soul, so much pain that won't ever go away. How do we make it better? How do we make it through? What can we do when there's nothing we can do? We can be kind. We can take care of each other. We can remember that deep down inside we all need the same thing. And maybe we'll find, if we are there for each other, that together we'll weather whatever tomorrow may bring. Nobody really wants to fight. Nobody really wants to go to war. If everyone wants to make things right, then what are we always fighting for? Does nobody want to see it? Does nobody understand? The power to heal is right here in our hand. We can be kind. We can take care of each other. we can remember that deep down inside we all need the same thing. And maybe we'll find, if we are there for each other, that together we'll weather whatever tomorrow may bring. And it's not enough to talk about it, not enough to sing a song. We must walk the walk about it, you and I, do or die. We've got to try to get along. We can be kind, we can take care of each other, we can remember that deep down inside we all need the same thing. And maybe we'll find, if we are there for each other, that together we'll weather whatever tomorrow may bring. And maybe we'll find true peace of mind if we always remember we can be
I just want to say I'm so grateful that we have this community in which we can all practice all of this, in which it's all just so right at our disposal. So I'll be at the table over there, and we've got a big discount today for books for guys. So anyone who wants one, I'll be happy to sign it. Okay, thank you.